Yeah, I was always that teacher's pet little twerp in class who loved to be called on to read out loud from the textbook. But this time was different. When Mrs. Nord, shout out to Mrs. Nord, asked me to read this particular passage from the textbook, I could just feel that heat on the back of my neck from everyone just staring at me. Because of course, when we turned to page 50 whatever, it was the slavery chapter. It's always the slavery chapter. And I think that was the first time that I, just awash in a sea of beige 10-year-olds, felt so keenly aware that I was the only person of color in the room. I mean, by now I've had years of experience being the only black kid in the class, being the only black friend in the friend group. And even when I got to college and finally got a chance to befriend Latinas and Filipinas and otherwise non-white people, I still was often the only black girl there. I had a friend transfer to another school because she was so sick of being the sassy black friend, of being the only one in the room. Now in middle school, the Urban League chapter in my hometown held an annual breakfast to honor high-achieving kids of color. I was always invited, which I actually resented a lot because I hated getting called out for being a person of color at that point in my life. But you know, can't stop, won't stop getting those good grades. One year as we were getting ready to go, my dad made an offhand kind of joke about how he was probably gonna be the only white face in the room. And my mother, God bless, who was and probably still is the only one in the room more often than she is not, shut it down. She'd been in the reverse situation a million times and nobody thought that that should be weird. When we talk about representation, I feel like there's a backlash in certain circles, like that we have enough by now, right? You get too many black people in your TV show or your office or representing you politically and people start to feel their privilege threatened. We have Beyonce, we have Viola Davis, we have Barack Obama in the White House. We good, but we're super not. Just like Ruth Bader Ginsburg's statement that there'll be enough women on the Supreme Court when there are 9 of them, we have a lot of lost time to make up for. Representation matters and one's not good enough. Until you know what it's like to be the only one in the room, you haven't felt the particular pain of being asked to speak for every person who looks like you, but definitely don't speak too much. And until little kids of color can see themselves in every boardroom or lab or set or Senate floor, we haven't done our jobs. In the comments, I want to hear a story about a time when you were the only person in the room, whether you were the only person of color or only queer person or only disabled person, whatever it may be, how did that make you feel? And if you haven't had that experience, go read and listen. And your homework is to put yourself in a position where you are the only one in the room and get your life. If you enjoyed this video, you can consider subscribing. You can also find me on the social medias in the links below. And I will see you next week. Bye.